Well, I want to go to another place in your testimony and your story because you know what it is to be in a domestic violence situation. And with October being Domestic Violence Awareness Month, I think it's really important that people understand that there are women who are in church, that are Christians, that are dealing with the issue. Tell us a little bit about your story and how you came to the place where, you know, you were able to walk away.
Sure. Actually, this part of my testimony is pretty new. It's, as you can imagine, a fairly uncomfortable thing to talk about.
Yeah.
But as you said, I firmly believe that there's someone right now watching this show who who's in the same situation that I was in and is very isolated, feels like there's no hope and doesn't know where to go to find help. And in fact, doesn't even believe she needs help or that she deserves help. I was in that situation. I had a previous marriage, and my ex-husband was very physically abusive to the point of severe danger to me. For example, I was cast one time in the lead of a musical, a Gilbert and Sullivan musical, which requires a lot of high notes. And during the rehearsal process, he cracked my ribs.
Wow.
And the only way I could go on without anybody knowing, you know, I didn't tell anybody, was to wrap my ribs very, very tight with an athletic band, you know, and really tight so I could breathe and stand up correctly. You know, and again, I wasn't willing to tell anybody. It was all about shame and staying in darkness and staying in isolation. But it grew to a point where the pinnacle was when one incident I remember very, very vividly, where he had me down on the ground and he had me in this chokehold, and he was raging, you know, right in my face, and he began to squeeze tighter, and I started to pass out. And I remember as I was just falling into blackness, I remember thinking, he's done it. He's finally killed me. I literally thought I was dying.
Wow.
So along the way, God, he saw me through by putting me in shows, actually, that physically removed me from that situation and got me to a safer place. And what I would tell, if someone is listening now who's in this situation, I tell them, please talk. Talk, because when we shed light on darkness, then we can begin to change and heal. And what I found when I began sharing with friends who were in a cast of mine, in a show of mine that was away from him, I began to discover that I grew stronger. And as I kept sharing and kept growing stronger, my perception and perspective changed about my situation. I began to realize, this isn't okay. This isn't normal. This isn't what I deserve, etc. And
I think it's so amazing because I wanted you to share that in its, you know, totality, because we talked a little bit about the show about that it's the enemy's MO to make people feel ashamed. It's his MO to make you feel isolated. And when he does that, he does trap you. He does make you feel like you have no place to go. But when you were able to, and God brought you to the place where you can experience that separation.
Right.
And that's what he wants us to do. He wants us to separate ourselves from the enemy so we can understand the light of his word, the light of his love, the light of his countenance and its ability to free us.
That's right. And especially being Christians, the adversary is particularly vicious with us, and we're his target. So we can be vulnerable to that, and it's disconcerting to a church to think it's happening here in our very midst. But it is happening, and I've partnered with a ministry called Focus Ministries. A link to them is on my website, but they're a resource for women who are in this situation and need help. But what is amazing that they do, which I love, is they also actually go to churches and they give classes to the pastors and the pastor's wife, the staff, of how to handle this within their own church.
Wonderful.
Well, great resource.
I'm telling you, I am so glad you're here because I don't think it's a coincidence. I know there's somebody out there, you need help, and you need to know that God has light for you. He has space for you in the same way He did it for Marie, He can do it for you. Well, very quickly, you mentioned your website. Tell people where they can go to learn more about you, your story, your music, and then tell us about your new single, Kneel, because you're getting ready to perform it.
Sure. You can find me at www.mariebarlow.com. Okay. Very easy, mariebarlow.com. And this next song I'll do is our first single off of this album. It's playing on more than 70 radio stations across the country. It's very exciting, to be able to get the word out to more people.
Absolutely.
So that's what I'm going to do.
And it's titled Kneel.
It's titled Kneel, and it actually is about healing, which is why it's particularly important to me with my journey.
Absolutely.
Is to found healing.
Because you understand what it is to find that healing. And when we kneel, it's a sign of surrender.
Absolutely.
When we kneel, it's a sign of us giving our will over to God. So we're going to hear you now perform Kneel. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.